Ever get that feeling that where you're working, like right now, is actually holding back what you could be achieving with your business?
Oh, definitely.
Like the environment itself is just a subtle drag on things.
Yeah, that resonates. I mean, the workspace isn't just, a backdrop. It's a fundamental piece of how we operate, how we innovate,
Hmm.
how we connect, really.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're unpacking today. We're doing a deep dive into the world of co-working spaces
Hmm.
and asking that big question. Could these flexible hubs be the key to unlocking new growth, new opportunities, especially for small and medium-sized businesses, SMBs trying to make their mark?
Right. So whether you're maybe a startup founder trying to get some traction, or you're part of a more established SMB looking for maybe a more dynamic edge, a more adaptable way to operate, this is for you.
Yeah.
Our goal really is to give a clear sense of the potential here, what co-working actually offers.
Exactly. And we've been looking at some fascinating insights from a recent piece by Brandnook, their company right in the thick of the co-working scene.
Yeah, a provider themselves.
And their view from Indianapolis really shines a light on this whole area, which is changing so fast.
Well, being based right there, Brandnook has a pretty unique viewpoint, doesn't it?
Yeah.
They see firsthand how co-working is like reshaping how businesses work day to day.
So our mission today is pretty straightforward. We want to cut through maybe some of the hype and help you, our listener, figure out if maybe a co-working space could be the right move for your specific needs, your ambitions.
So good.
Okay, so let's kick things off maybe with the bigger picture. Where did this whole co-working thing even start?
Well, what's interesting, I think, is that co-working wasn't really born out of the whole remote work boom we just saw. It was actually a pretty significant growth area in commercial real estate before the pandemic.
Oh, right.
Then, the big shift to remote work, the advantages, the inherent benefits of co-working just became even more obvious.
So it's almost like the pandemic just poured fuel on a fire that was already burning.
Yeah, accelerated a trend already gaining steam.
People got that taste of flexibility working outside the office. But, well, working from home isn't always the productivity paradise people thought, is it?
Not always, no.
Yeah.
Precisely. And while the pandemic certainly boosted its appeal, the actual idea of a company dedicated to providing co-working spaces, that actually popped up back in the early 2000s.
Wow. Okay.
So this concept has been around, developing, getting refined for quite a while now.
And it's clearly not just some niche thing anymore. The growth projections are, well, they're pretty staggering.
They really are. The market's forecast to hit nearly, $35 billion by 2027?
Yeah.
With a compound annual growth rate over 16%. I mean, that kind of expansion really tells you something about the role co-working is playing now.
So just for anyone listening who might still be a bit fuzzy on the concept, how would you define co-working simply? What makes it different?
Okay, so at its core, co-working is it's a workspace setup built around sharing resources, sharing amenities.
Right.
What makes it different is that these places are designed for and used by people and teams from lots of different companies, and independent workers too. It's not like the old model where one company takes a whole building.
Got it. And that's where it becomes, as the article says, a really viable option, particularly for those startups and SMBs, the small, medium businesses we mentioned.
Exactly.
They need that professional base, but maybe without all the traditional overheads and, crucially, those long-term commitments.
Precisely. Which brings us neatly into one of the biggest draws, flexibility.
Ah, yes.
This seems like such a fundamental plus, especially for businesses dealing with growth or market ups and downs.
Oh, absolutely. The Brandnook article really hammers this home. They usually work on month-to-month contracts.
Yeah.
For an SMB trying to handle unpredictable growth or maybe market shifts, that kind of agility is, well, it's gold.
It's more than just convenient, though, isn't it? It's actually a strategic edge. You can treat your workspace almost like a variable cost.
Interesting way to put it.
Yeah, scaling with your revenue, cutting down the huge financial risks you get with long leases, that's vital in the early days especially.
And it's not just about the total space you use, is it? It goes deeper into the kind of access, the commitment level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You often find a whole menu of options. Maybe you need a dedicated private office full-time, or maybe just a shared desk a few days a week.
Or something totally custom.
Right, or custom plans. You get to choose the days, the duration, the type of space that fits exactly what you need right now.
It's just worlds away from those rigid and multi-year leases that can really tie your hands.
Totally. That freedom from long agreements, it gives you incredible peace of mind. You can scale up your space quickly if the team grows.
Yeah.
And just as importantly, you can shrink back if things slow down without paying for empty desks you're stuck with.
And I hadn't really thought about the time flexibility aspect as much, adapting access to when your team actually works.
That's a really good point. Some of these, uh, what the article calls boutique spaces,
Yeah.
often the smaller, maybe more specialized ones, they offer flexible hours, sometimes even 247 access,
Wow.
which if you've got international clients or teams in different time zones, that can be an absolute game changer.
Okay, so flexibility. Huge tick. Massive benefit. But it's not just about the practical stuff, is it? What about the actual vibe, the environment where you work? How do they stack up?
Well, that raises a really key question. Where do you or your team actually get your best work done?
Right.
I mean, working from home seems convenient, or maybe grabbing a coffee shop table feels casual, but they often lack that dedicated focus, that professional setup you need for real, sustained productivity.
Oh, tell me about it. Between the dog barking, the laundry pile, or just the general cafe buzz, focusing can be a real battle.
Exactly. Co-working spaces are specifically designed with productivity in mind. They try to create environments that, cut down distractions and help you focus.
And there's data on this.
Yeah, the article points to a pretty compelling stat. 84% of those who co-work express feeling more engaged and stimulated.
84%. That's huge. That really says something about the power of the place itself.
It really does.
So what are the design bits that make this happen? What creates this productive vibe?
It often boils down to what the article calls well-planned infrastructure. These spaces are just thoughtfully put together to feel professional and, well, good to work in.
Like what specifically?
Things like making the most of natural light, carefully controlled temperature, ergonomic chairs. It all adds up to being more comfortable and therefore more productive.
And Brand Nook in Indianapolis gets called out as a green co-working space. What does that mean beyond just having a few plants around?
Yeah, good question. It's more than just aesthetics. These places often use sustainable building materials, maybe energy-efficient heating and cooling.
Yeah.
Proper recycling programs. It reflects that growing desire for businesses and employees to be more environmentally conscious. But yeah, also the basics like good light, comfy temps, good chairs, quiet zones, and of course, plenty of places to charge your devices.
Sounds like they've really thought about the whole person, from comfort to, well, planet.
Absolutely. And then beyond those basics, many spaces offer a whole range of other useful amenities. Things like private executive suites if you need real confidentiality,
Right.
fully kitted out conference rooms for meetings, and obviously rock-solid high-speed internet.
The absolute must-haves for any business today.
For sure. And it's interesting, some are even catering to pet owners now, with pet-friendly options in some packages.
Really?
Yeah. Plus, you usually get communal lounges, kitchen areas, places for those casual chats and coffee breaks. Brand Nook even mentions they're adding outdoor seating soon,
Oh, nice. A bit of fresh air.
which can be great for just stepping away and recharging for a bit.
Okay, so we've got flexibility covered and a really well-designed work environment. But the other thing you always hear about with co-working is the networking, the collaboration potential. Is that like a real tangible benefit for SMBs?
It comes up constantly,
Yeah.
and yeah, for good reason. Co-working spaces, just by their nature, tend to foster a sense of community. They encourage collaboration.
How so?
Well, you're bringing together this diverse mix of people from different industries all under one roof. That alone creates fertile ground for connections.
Yeah, I can see that. Those sort of spontaneous chats, bumping into someone from a totally different field,
Yeah.
that could spark some really unexpected ideas or opportunities.
Exactly. Call it serendipitous innovation, maybe.
Hmm.
You might overhear someone talking about a problem you're also wrestling with, but from a completely different angle. And suddenly, boom, a new solution you'd never have thought of in your own little silo. The article also mentions that spaces often partner up with other businesses, like accountants, lawyers, marketing folks, which means SMBs can sometimes access those essential services without needing to hire someone full-time.
Wow, that's like a built-in support network. Super resourceful.
It really can be. And even beyond those formal partnerships, just meeting people from different areas can lead to sharing knowledge, bouncing ideas around, maybe even forming actual partnerships down the road.
So it's more than just sharing the rent. The actual design encourages people to connect.
Precisely. Things like shared desks in common areas, comfy lounges set up for informal chats, even those outdoor spaces we mentioned. They're all designed to make it easier for people to bump into each other and build relationships.
And the article gives a breakdown of who you might actually meet there.
Yeah, it's a really diverse crowd. You've got a good chunk of corporate employees, sure, but also a lot of freelancers.
Right.
digital nomads living that location-independent life, and other independent professionals doing all sorts of things. That variety is a huge asset.
It's like having an instant, varied professional network on tap.
Pretty much. And a lot of space operators actively help this along. They organize events, sometimes in person, sometimes virtual, like webinars or podcasts,
Okay.
maybe little conferences, skill workshops. These are great chances for SMBs to find potential collaborators, people facing similar challenges.
And sometimes the best connections are just simple introductions, right?
Totally. The article uses the example of, say, a freelance web developer meeting a UI/UX designer in the same space.
Ah!
They could team up on a project right there. That kind of direct synergy can really help everyone grow.
Okay, networking, collaboration, check. What about just getting stuff done, the direct impact on, productivity?
Right. So co-working spaces are set up to give SMBs access to the resources they need, but also those less tangible things that boost productivity.
Yeah.
Like having a dedicated desk where you won't be interrupted.
Yes.
And that sort of background buzz, that ambiance of excitement you can get when you're around other focused people.
That makes total sense. Just being near others who are working hard can be motivating in itself.
It really can. It helps fight that isolation you sometimes get working remotely, and it just generally fosters a more positive, focused work vibe. The article points out that just interacting with other professionals can encourage positive attitudes and help maintain concentration.
And those interactions, they can spin off into other benefits too, can't they? Not just keeping you on task.
Absolutely. Those connections might lead to referrals, new business opportunities you wouldn't have found otherwise. Plus, a lot of co-working spaces run support or mentorship programs specifically for small businesses,
Oh, interesting.
which can be incredibly helpful for startups finding their feet or even established SMBs looking to, say, enter a new market.
It really sounds like a supportive ecosystem for growth.
It often is, and it's not just anecdotal. The article pulls out some pretty compelling data on productivity.
Okay, hit me with the numbers.
So according to the GCUC, that's the Global Co-working Unconference Community, a big industry group, 67% of people in co-working spaces report higher levels of professional accomplishment.
Wow, 2/3 feel they achieve more. That's significant.
It is. And it's not just about ticking off tasks. It's also about learning and growing professionally.
How does the space help with that?
Well, many places host workshops, seminars on things like time management, project skills, that sort of thing.
Right.
Plus, the article cites that nearly 70% of co-working clients say they've picked up new skills just by being there.
70%.
And about the same number say they've improved skills they already had.
That's amazing. It's like free professional development baked into your rent.
Kind of.
Yeah.
And a big part of that is probably having access to really good tech and equipment that maybe a small business couldn't justify buying on its own.
Like what kind of tech?
Super fast broadband, professional printers and scanners, projectors, whiteboards for brainstorming, proper video conferencing setup.
All the tools you need to look and be professional.
Exactly. And by rolling all that into the membership, co-working spaces save companies a ton of upfront cost and hassle compared to setting it all up themselves.
Which, naturally, leads us right into the money side of things. Are they actually cost-effective for SMBs?
The article makes a pretty strong case that yes, they are. They're positioned as a financially smart alternative to getting a traditional office lease.
Because you get the equipped space without the massive upfront costs.
Right, and without the ongoing operational headaches. Think about it. Compared to leasing or buying a regular office, SMBs save a lot on things like building maintenance, repairs, insurance, utilities.
Yeah, those costs sneak up on you and can really add up.
They certainly can. And it goes beyond just keeping the lights on. You also save on buying furniture, setting up all the IT gear, keeping the stationary cupboard stocked.
So it's more like an all-inclusive package deal.
In many ways, yes. The membership fee usually covers utilities, gas, electric, water, internet. That makes your monthly outgoings much more predictable, easier to budget.
And thinking back to the networking, the potential for new business could even make the membership pay for itself, couldn't it?
Absolutely. The article makes that exact point. Those connections we talked about could lead to new revenue that might actually exceed what you're paying for the space.
So it's not just about cutting costs, it could actually boost income.
Precisely. The article sums it up by saying that when SMB leaders weigh up all the benefits, both the hard costs saved and the softer benefits gained, they often feel pretty confident they're getting good value. It's a winning proposition.
Okay, now here's another angle the article mentioned that I found intriguing. Using co-working spaces to find new team members. How does that work?
Yeah, that ties back to the environment again and who finds these spaces attractive.
Okay.
Compared to maybe a traditional corporate office park out in the suburbs, these co-working spaces often appeal more to millennial and Gen Z workers.
Why is that?
They tend to prioritize things like work-life balance, a lively atmosphere, and convenient, often central locations.
Right. That definitely tracks with what we know about younger generations in the workforce.
Exactly. And many co-working spots are deliberately located in prime city spots. That gives businesses a more prestigious address, more visibility, but it also makes them easier to get to by public transport, which appeals to a wider range of potential hires.
So just by being in a co-working space, you're already more visible to the kind of talent you might be trying to attract.
That's the idea. The article calls co-working spaces an excellent opportunity to find and access young talents. You're basically surrounded by this pool of smart, driven people. They might even offer help with things like fundraising or just give you fresh perspectives.
And you might literally find your next hire working at the next desk over.
It's definitely possible.
Right.
And some providers apparently keep directories or portfolios of their members' skills,
Oh, wow.
which could be a really useful, informal way for an SMB to find someone with specific expertise without going through traditional recruiters.
That's a really clever built-in talent pipeline, potentially.
It is. Now, shifting gears slightly, let's touch on something that's becoming more and more important: well-being. How do these spaces help with people's overall health and happiness?
That's interesting. We usually think offices of productivity, maybe, but the well-being angle is crucial.
It really is. The article notes that even within these shared spaces, the private offices are often designed with comfort, with ergonomics in mind, trying to prevent those aches and pains from sitting all day.
Yeah, adjustable desks, supportive chairs.
Exactly. Things like that are often standard. Definitely important for keeping people comfortable and focused.
And preventing burnout, I guess.
For sure. And it goes beyond just the desk. Many providers offer access to nearby gyms or maybe even have on-site wellness facilities, yoga classes, support groups, that kind of thing.
Right.
These things can really help people stay mentally sharp and physically fit, which feeds back into productivity, of course.
So it's a much more holistic view of supporting employees, not just their work output.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the mental health boost from just being around other people in a positive environment.
Right, the social aspect.
Yeah. The article mentions how things like outdoor seating can lift moods, and just having that community around you offers emotional support, reduces that feeling of isolation some remote workers struggle with.
It's kind of the opposite of being stuck alone in your home office all day.
Precisely. And the numbers back this up too. The article cites a survey where 45% of co-working folks reported better mental health.
Nearly half.
Yeah, and just generally, coworkers are reported to be happier after working in a co-working space.
Those are pretty strong endorsements.
They really are. It just highlights how much the environment and the social side of work matter for overall well-being.
Okay, and one last major point. Work-life balance. That seems to be a core value here too.
Absolutely. First off, the article points out that just having a modern professional workspace boosts an SMB's image. It adds credibility with clients, maybe investors.
That makes sense. Meeting someone in a slick co-working space versus, I don't know, a noisy cafe, it sends a different message.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
And yes, work-life balance is often baked into the co-working culture. Just having a dedicated place to work that isn't your home helps create better boundaries.
Right, escaping that always-on feeling you can get working from home.
It's about creating that clearer separation between work time and home time.
Yeah.
And again, that flexibility we talked about right at the start, choosing work hours that fit your life, your personal responsibilities, that's key for fostering a better overall balance. You're not always chained to the traditional 9 to 5.
Okay, so bringing this all home, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. What are the main takeaways for SMBs thinking about this?
Well, we've seen how they offer really crucial flexibility, how they create a genuinely good atmosphere for focused work, how they open up amazing networking and collaboration chances, and how they can lead to a real productivity boost through shared resources and just being part of that community.
And then beyond the day-to-day work, we looked at how they can be surprisingly cost-effective, how they give you access to talent, support well-being,
Right.
and help achieve that better work-life integration.
All things that are pretty fundamental for SMBs trying to succeed and grow in today's world, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. So let's go back to that first question we asked. Could a co-working space unlock new possibilities for you and your SMB?
It's definitely an option worth seriously thinking about for any small or medium business looking to optimize things and really drive growth.
So maybe think about the biggest challenge you have right now with your current workspace. Could that collaborative, flexible nature of co-working offer a solution you hadn't considered? What might you actually gain by stepping outside that traditional office box? Definitely something to mull over.